All right, students, welcome to the tutorial video for leads, writing that beginning of your article. Basically, the first couple sentences or the first couple paragraphs. So what we're going to go ahead and do is direct you to my desktop, and let's go ahead and get all the pieces ready for you to get the documents and listen to this video and add in your information. So in your Wednesday folder in DMP, you should notice that there's a Writing Leads Guided Notes assignment, and you're going to open that assignment, create your document, and listen to this video, and we're going to fill in the blanks, just standard guided notes, but a lot of information I'm going to talk about that you can add to this document and keep this document as samples and examples that you can use when starting your article. All right, so go ahead and get all those pieces ready. All right, have this document open, and then obviously you're watching this video over on the side. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do now is, have all those pieces. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to my tablet screen, and we have this Writing Leads adapted from the Purdue OWL. Always give credit to where you get resources. For those that don't know the OWL, Purdue OWL is one of the most famous writing colleges. All right, so with that being said, let's get right into it. The leads is your beginning. It's the most important part of your article because it introduces your topic, and additionally, if your lead does not give enough information or doesn't quite capture the beginning for the author or for the reader, that is, your article all of a sudden is going to get ignored. So we got to keep this in mind that your lead, you should spend a good amount of time to really make sure it's enhanced. So let's talk about the general info about leads. First and foremost, it is only about 1 to 2 sentences. Right? Yes, there is, all of these rules can be slightly adjusted, so some of you a little more advanced writers, yeah, it can be a little bit more, it could be a couple more sentences, but 1 to 2 sentences that introduces your topic is customary, and there's nothing more than that. It's a short section, okay? Very important section, but short. So it's 1 to 2 sentences that introduces your article, and additionally, you're looking usually about 25 to 40 words, okay? They're not going to be too lengthy. It is just merely your first paragraph, okay? That's the paragraph symbol. And don't target counting each word, but what we got to be careful of is the balance. Some of you who are much more robust writers, you'll have a longer lead. Okay. Some of you that are just starting off, your writing skills are a little bit more straightforward. It could be 25 to 40 words. You want to target that. So there are 3 types of leads that we're going to discuss today, and so I'm going to zoom out on your screen. There's the summary lead, the anecdotal lead, and then the question lead. And I have organized this document so you follow along with what I recommend, the order that you should more than likely try. Most of you will do the summary lead, and I'm going to state it should be your first choice. It should definitely be your first choice because this is the most straightforward and easiest to apply with any sort of article. Okay? So here's what a summary lead does. It describes or summarizes, exactly as the word states, summarizes the main points. And additionally, you often use parts of the 5 W's and H, what we have discussed earlier this year when we discussed the aspects of interviewing. And you probably heard it in language arts and stuff. So who, what, when, where, and why, and how. So really, the main ones, you're going to use the parts of 5W, okay, is the what. Okay, that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to star that. That's what we're going to use more than anything else. Okay, and it makes sense because we're introducing a topic. We need to make sure we tell what the topic is. So let me give you some examples that kind of outline this process. The first example, right at the top, okay, as social media becomes more prominent, so has the ability for people to do harm by bullying and harassing others anonymously. So very well written summary lead, 1 sentence, beginning stuff, but you can see I'm going to highlight the main parts that you should recognize. This is our what? Okay, it's about social media, and that's our topic. Okay? Additionally, this person described or summarized some main points. Obviously, they're talking about harming by bullying. That is a what? Okay, all right, and that is actually more specifically a main point. So I'll just label it main point 1. And as you're working through this, a very simple sentence like this also has a main point 2. So we have a lot of parts to this that introduces the topic properly. And now the rest of the article can get right into those multiple parts about harming via bullying and anonymity and all of those key pieces of social media. So this person that wrote this, and these are all student examples from years past, well written, simple, but hits upon all the topics you need. So another example, I'm going to scroll down actually because there's a lot of examples here, but I want to showcase a couple for the purpose of the video that I want you to try to apply. So I'm going to zoom in on the last one. This one is a common type because it has a little more pieces of the W's, but okay, it's very scripted, works well for many students. So the last one, on September 8, 2014, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Avery to discuss the various sports offered at Derby Middle School. So this is a type of lead that I talked to you about during the interview project. Okay, we have the when, okay, on September. We have the who, okay, and that's a student, it looks like, okay. And we also have the what. So the what is about various sports offered at Derby Middle School, which also gets into the where. So once again, a simple sentence that outlines a lot of information. This one down at the bottom, okay, I am going to put a big old star next to. I recommend it. I highly recommend this setup. If you read articles on newspapers and on the web and stuff, this is kind of a standard. It's not the most exciting lead, but oftentimes it's not about excitement. It's about making sure that we're appropriate in introducing our topic. So utilize this lead if it feels it attracts you. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to zoom out. Make sure you take a moment to look at all the information I put in so far. Add that to your guided notes. I'm going to roll the video for about 3 seconds and go on to the anecdotal lead. All right, that's about 3 seconds according to my clock. Let's look at the anecdotal lead. So anecdotal lead is not the easiest lead. It is one of the more advanced leads. Anecdotal means story, okay? It's a story lead. It's a creative, punchy lead. It's called a punch lead in a journalistic terms. Okay, so a punch lead basically means it's got to have some impact, just like a punch. Okay, creative punch lead that tells a story. So an anecdotal lead is one of those leads that are for people that want to set a tone. Okay, it sets a tone. But one thing we got to be careful is that it's for advanced writers, okay? If you fall apart with an anecdotal lead, you have zero impact on the rest of your story, okay? So it's for those that have more serious topics or humorous topics, because tone can flip between different spectrums, but you have to have good control of your narration, okay? It's like a story. So let me give you 2 examples here that kind of highlight that, and we can pick apart what is actually being introduced. First one, from Jordan's sun-warmed beach chair, the pool began to look oddly, not so much like waves, but bread dough. It was looking like global warming had reached southeast Michigan. Impactful, very creative. You have a lot of imagery here. And additionally, okay, it's very clear this student is talking about global warming. That's the what and that's the topic. And most importantly, it sets a tone. You can see it's got an ominous tone, okay? It's a little bit more serious, a little bit more darker. So the direction a reader would think is, okay, this person is going to be critical about global warming and explain the negative effects of how it's happening. That's what an impactful anecdotal lead. So if you are comfortable doing this or you feel you want to tackle this for a serious type of article, do so. Here's another one. As the end of 6th hour approached, James fidgeted in his seat, waiting for that final bell to ring. Thoughts of getting home and playing video games were on his mind until he realized school is not over yet. He still had to go to A squared. That is a great lead. An awesome anecdotal lead that sets the tone again. There's a little bit of humor in it, but the topic itself is more than likely about A squared and it being at the end of school and the impact it has on students. So you can, even though it sets this really kind of simple story at the beginning, it leads you right into knowing, oh, this person is probably going to critique A squared. Okay, so they're probably going to go ahead and talk about why it's good, why it may need to be improved, other those type things, but it's clear. Okay, great anecdotal lead, awesome start, creative, sets a solid tone. So use an anecdotal lead if you are interested and you feel you can pull it off. All right, I'm going to pause this video right now. Feel free to double check that you have all your major notes in. I'll roll it for 3 seconds, move on to the question lead. All right, here we go. So the question lead is something common that many of you have used in the past, and it's okay. Okay, you kind of started in elementary. It's okay for actual newspaper article writing. So let me zoom in on that. There we go. So a question lead really works for editorials. Okay, editorial basically means opinion pieces, editorials and opinions, or debates. So some of you are writing very serious topics that relate to a controversial question or a controversial opinion about something. And this question lead would work real well. But in all question leads, there are 2 parts you must master. Okay? And if you don't use the 2 parts, your question lead is ineffective. It just flat out falls apart. So the 2 parts is, you always have to ask a question. Well, that's what a question lead is. Ask a question first, then your second sentence, then introduce main idea. Introduce main idea. If you follow these 2 major parts, you will have an impactful question lead. Okay? You can't just ask a question. You have to introduce your main idea following the question. So here are some examples that kind of highlight this or showcase this. So I'm going to go to the second one because this one is kind of common when I look at from a student perspective. How much homework is too much? For some students, this is a burning question that needs to be answered. Very impactful question lead. First one is part 1 that introduces the question, and then part 2, for some students, this is a burning question that needs to be answered. It's very clear in part 2 that this student is going to present an article about getting feedback and getting opinions and other things from students about whether or not homework is too much or not enough. So, bam, good question lead, goes into an opinion style piece, editorial. All right, a couple other ones are on here, but I'm going to go to the last one because you'll find that this one works really well for a question lead. Controversial, editorial, opinion type of topics. Should we corral students into categories of smart and not so smart? The debate of whether or not we should have advanced classes is raging across the nation, and I set to get feedback from teachers, students, and parents. Excellent question lead. Why? Has the 2 major parts. First part, question, and then as you look at the second part, this one is well written because this student clearly introduced all of the main points of their article. They are going to go ahead and present the debate. They're going to present both sides too, because they said whether or not we should have advanced classes. So they're going to be very clear that they're going to present both sides from teachers, students, and parents. Look at that. That is an extremely well-written question and leads into the main idea and locks in the rest of the topic. So at this point, this video, make sure you have all the main information, but what you should be thinking about now, as many of you that are, I'm going to zoom out here, are a little bit ahead and starting to write your articles, you have 3 leads. And no matter what, you have to pick one. So utilize one of these 3 leads that will go ahead and enhance your article. All right. If you have any questions, all right, feel free to reach out to me, obviously. But after you have the guided notes finished, review the video if needed, submit it so you get credit, but additionally have it available as a reference when you are starting your major articles. And that concludes this video. Thank you.